to another episode. Oh, why? Why? I don't know why I called it an episode. Welcome to another live stream from me, Michael Reeds. If you could bear with me just a few seconds so that I can wait for more people to come on, that would be great. It will give me a chance to continue to do my setup. So that I could hopefully give you all the best experience on live stream. Yeah. So I hope you've all been well. And today is it's quite a special day because we have come to the finale of the book on the Shortness of Life by Lucius Seneca. So we will be going through chapters 19 and 20. Yeah, I'm all set up. So these two chapters that we're on is the closing argument for of a book that has spent its time asking us one difficult question, not simply how long we live, but whether our lives truly belong to us. Right. So before we begin, please tap the like button or follow me, Michael Reeds. If you enjoy reading classic books together, and share this live stream with someone who might appreciate a thoughtful pause tonight. If you have been in the series from the beginning, let me know in the chat. And let me know what you have gained from it, what you've taken from it, if it made you think more deeply about how you spend your time, and what you spend your time on. Yeah, please let me know, and let's have a discussion. Let's talk more. Let's try to be more proactive with our time, and make the most of it, live the most. And if you are joining me for the first time, you are very welcome, welcome. And the final chapters, they stand strongly on their own. So tonight, Seneca turns directly towards the question of how we should live and how we should know when the chasing, striving, and postponing have gone just way too far. So before we read the ending, let's remember the road this book has taken us on. So Seneca began by challenging the common complaint that life is too short. His answer was proactive. Life is not necessarily short, but much of it is simply lost, scattered, or surrendered. He has criticized busyness without purpose, uh, endless ambition, distraction, status seeking, and the habit of living everywhere except in the present. But he also offered an alternative, a life with attention, reflection, learning, and a clearer awareness of morality. Or mortality, sorry. So in these last two chapters, he gathers these ideas into a final challenge. And as we read, please keep these two questions in mind with you. What does a life that is truly our own look like? And can we accept Seneca's message without turning it into guilt or perfectionism? So let's begin tonight's live stream by reading chapter 19 of the book on the shortness of life. Right. I'm just trying to sort this gimbal out so that it is central. So, chapter 19. Betake yourself to these quieter, safer, larger fields of action. Do you think that there can be any comparison between seeing that corn is deposited in the public granary without being stolen by the fraud or spoiled by the carelessness of the importer, that it does not suffer from damp or overheating, and that it measures the weighs as much as it ought, and beginning the study of sacred and divine knowledge, which will teach you of what elements the gods are formed, what are their pleasures, their position, their form, to what changes your soul has to look forward, where nature will place us when we are dismissed from our bodies, what that principle is which holds all the heaviest particles of our universe in the middle, suspends the lighter ones above, puts fire highest of all, and causes the stars to rise in their courses, with many other matters full of marvels. Will you not cease to grovel on earth and turn your mind's eye on these themes? Nay, while your blood still flows swiftly before your knees grow feeble, you ought to take the better path. In this course of life, there await you many good things, such as love and practice of the virtues, forgetfulness of passions, knowledge of how to live and die, deep repose. The position of all busy men is unhappy, but most unhappy of all is that of those who do not even labor at their own affairs, but have to regulate their rest by another man's sleep, their walk by another man's pace, and whose very love and hate, the freest things in the world, are at another's bidding. If such men wish to know how short their lives are, let them think how small a fraction of them is their own. So, chapter 19 is one of Seneca's clearest invitations to take a step back. He asks the reader to turn from exhausting occupation and towards what he calls calmer, safer, and greater pursuits. He is not saying that every responsibility is worthless. In fact, the work he describes matters. People need food, institutions, care, and organization. But he asks whether a life can become completely consumed by keeping systems running, meeting demands, and responding to emergencies. His alternative is contemplation, learning how the world works, reflecting on nature, virtue, death, desire, and the shape of a good life. There is something powerful here. Seneca is reminding us that a human being is more than their productivity. We do not exist only to complete tasks, answer messages, or maintain a role. But we should also be careful. Leisure is not equally available to everyone. For many people, work and care are not distractions from life. They are how they protect the people they love. A fair reading of Seneca should not shame those who have limited time or heavy responsibility. Perhaps the lesson is not abandon responsibility. Perhaps it is do not let responsibility erase your inner life completely. So, if you suddenly gained one protected hour each week, an hour no one could claim from you, how would you use it? Please tell me, let me know in the chat. What would you do in that 1 hour where you are on your own? I know what I'll be doing. I'll probably be have more time to prepare and implement some of the things that I want to implement for this channel so that I could make my content more exciting. So now we're going to chapter 20. Chapter 20 brings the book to its sharpest ending. Seneca looks at those who spend their lives climbing, postponing, and preparing, always expecting life to begin after the next achievement. So let's read that final chapter. If you have a copy, please, chapter 20. When, therefore, you see a man often wear the purple robes of office and hear his name often repeated in the forum, do not envy him. He gains these things by losing so much of his life. Men throw away their years in order to have 1 year named after them as consul. Some lose their lives during the early part of the struggle and never reach the height to which they aspired. Some, after having submitted to 1,000 indignities in order to reach the crowning dignity, have the miserable reflection that the only result of their labors will be the inscription on their tombstone. Some, while telling of extreme old age, like youth for new aspirations, have found it fail from sheer weakness amid great and presumptuous enterprises. It is a shameful ending when a man's breath deserts him in a court of justice, while, although well stricken in years, he is still striving to gain the sympathies of an ignorant audience for some obscure litigant. It is base to perish in the midst of one's business, wearied with living sooner than with working, shameful too to die in the act of receiving payments amid the laughter of one's long expectant ear. I cannot pass over an instance which occurs to me. Tyrannius was an old man of the most painstaking exactitude, who, after entering upon the 90th year, when he had a G. Caesar's own act been relieved of his duties as collector of the revenue, ordered himself to be laid out on his bed and mourned for as though he were dead. The whole house mourned for the leisure of its old master, and did not lay aside its mourning until his work was restored to him. Can men find such pleasure in dying in harness? Yet many are of the same mind. They retain their wish for labor longer than their capacity for it, and fight against their bodily weakness. They think old age an evil for no reason than because it lays them on the shelf. The law does not enroll a soldier after his 50th year, or require a senator's attendance after his 60th, but men have more difficulty in obtaining their own consent than that of the law to a life of leisure. Meanwhile, while they were plundering and being plundered, while one is disturbing another's repose, and all are being made wretched alike, life remains without profit, without pleasure, without any intellectual progress. No one keeps death well before his eyes. No one refrains from far reaching hopes. Some even arrange things which lie beyond their own lives, such as huge sepulchral buildings and dedication of public works, and exhibitions to be given at their funeral pyre, and ostentatious processions. But by Hercules, the funerals of such men ought to be conducted by the light of torches and wax tapers, as though they had lived but a few days. Hello, Peyton. Thank you for joining us. We just concluded chapter 20 of the book on the shortness of life by Lucius Seneca. So, after having read chapter 20, Seneca's warning is painfully familiar. Many of us make a deal with the future. We tell ourselves, I'll rest when this is over. I'll read when life settles down. I'll start living properly after I reach the next milestone. But life may not become perfectly quiet. And if we wait for a perfect season, we may keep postponing the very things we say matter. So I'd love to ask you who are on here, what is one thing you have been saving for later that might deserve a small place in your life right now? So it could be, for example, calling someone, or returning to a book, or taking a walk, starting a project, resting without apology, or admitting that an ambition no longer serves you. So before we do say goodbye to this book, let's give these final couple of chapters and the author himself a fair hearing. So in chapter 19, Seneca contrasts a life absorbed by external business with a life that makes room for contemplation. So, a life that also includes learning and moral self-examination. So, in chapter 20, he warns us not to confuse visible success with a well-lived life. Fame, office, wealth, and constant activity may look impressive, but they can consume the very years they promise to justify. So his closing ideal is a person who can face fortune without being ruled by it, someone able to work, possess things, lose things, serve others, and eventually leave life with a clear conscience. So with having said that, what remains powerful is Seneca's greatest strength. His greatest strength is that he makes time feel ethical. He reminds us that attention is not trivial. What we repeatedly give ourselves or our lives to gradually becomes our life. He also sees through the seduction of later. A life of wishing for the next promotion, the next completed task, the next financial target, the next stage of life. These can all become excuses for never arriving in the present. And his final vision, his real generosity, has real generosity in it. A life of purpose is not merely private self-improvement. It includes conscious service, courage, and a refusal to harm others for personal gain. That's very powerful, just saying that. So, where should we resist or revise Seneca? You know, at the time, Seneca, at the same time, he can be very severe. His language about the occupied life can make ordinary work, entertainment, dependence, and even human needs sound like failures. But people need rest. They need play. They need connection. They need care, and sometimes simply survival. So not every busy season is a wasted life. We should also remember the tension in Seneca's own biography. He wrote against ambition and luxury while living close to immense political power and wealth himself. That does not cancel the force of his ideas, but it does mean we should read him as a brilliant, complicated human being, not as a flawless model. And finally, reflection should not become another form of pressure. The purpose of noticing how we spend our time is not to panic about every hour. It is to become more awake, more intentional, and perhaps more compassionate towards ourselves and others. So here's a balanced takeaway from the book. The healthiest modern reading of all these final chapters may be this: do not wait for life to become perfect before you begin living with care. Make room for reflection, but do not despise ordinary life. Pursue meaningful work, but do not let achievement take possession of you. Hello, Shanu. How are you? And remember that a life is not measured only by what it produces, but by how consciously, generously, and truthfully it is lived. So, as we close on the shortness of life, I think it earns its reputation as one of the great works on how to live. It is brief, but it is not small. Across almost 2,000 years, Seneca still reaches into the modern world of packed calendars, constant alerts, comparison, ambition, and fatigue, and asks whether we are present for our own lives. We do not have to agree with every judgment he makes, and in some places we shouldn't agree with it at all. But a book is not one a great book is not one that gives us easy instructions. It is one that continues to question us long after we have closed it. And this is one of those books. So, thank you for joining me. I see some new names on here. I appreciate all of you who've been on this journey with me as we went through the shortness of life. I will be doing a summary by summary, a chapter by chapter summary. I apologize. In the next couple of days, where we will lay the book down and put it to put it back on the shelf temporarily, because these books, they read and mean something to you based on the season that you are in your life. So how it made us think and feel now is not necessarily how it's going to affect us if we read it again. So I do thank you all for spending your time and reading this with me. So if this series has made you pause for some time of reflection, um, or look differently at the time that you have, please like this live stream, uh, follow me, Michael Reads, and share it with someone who would enjoy reading the classics in the community. So in the comments, leave me one final answer. What is one idea from On the Shortness of Life that you want to carry into your own life? And if you have a classic you would love us to read next, please tell me that too. I'm very open to suggestions. I'm still building my library. It's not nearly where I would like it to be, but it is growing, and we've got a lot more books to get through. So I do thank you for your attention, your thoughts, and your time. Excuse me. Seneca will probably say that attention is one of the rarest gifts we can offer. So take care of yourselves all, please, and I will see you on the next live stream, which will be on Saturday, where we will do a complete summary of the entire book. And I look forward to seeing all of you on there. Until then, thank you so much and take care. Bye bye. Ta-da.